Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad New Fangled Motion Picture Show.
Greetings, one and all, and welcome to another episode of the Everything is Bad Newfangled Motion Picture Show. I am...
What?
I don't know. I was trying to think of something clever.
Well, I know what I was going to say, then I thought about it. I'm like, I'm not going to say that. It's a title applied to Gamera, and I'm like, I better not.
Yeah. I am one half of the hosting team, Niall.
And I am at least one half of the hosting team, Nolan.
And today, we're going to be reviewing Godzilla, King of the Monsters. We're going to be doing a spoiler-free review. And then giving you a spoiler warning, and then going more in depth into it after that. So, guess we'll just get right into it. So, still haven't made like a really good Godzilla movie.
So there's a lot more kaiju action in this, that's for sure.
But it's not as cool.
Yeah, well, the problem because it's something you run into a lot in action movies is there's this like shaky cam thing going on.
Did no one learn anything from John Wick?
And a lot of really like close-up shots, which is like when you consider how big they are, you lose a lot, and it's hard to like follow the action a lot of the time, especially because it's almost all dark and stormy. Because Ghidorah like creates a storm wherever he goes. Yeah, I don't think it's really a spoiler thing, but so it gives them an excuse to have every fight in the middle of a storm. You can't really follow the action very well. That's my problem with it. There's more fighting. There's more kaiju fighting in this than there was in the previous one, which is I guess everyone's big problem. But
it's just not as cool to watch.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff like the very end fight. At the very end, that they pulled back on some of the stuff that was problematic in the previous or the earlier fights and stuff. But yeah, overall, it's just the fights are kind of hard to follow.
Yeah. So this movie's sitting at a 6.9 right now on IMDb, and I think that's about what it deserves, probably. They still don't give, like, they still don't have enough kaiju action to excuse the really shitty story. Like, I could look past the ridiculousness of the story and stuff that's like some of the things that are real questionable in a movie like Pacific Rim, where it's like, yeah, but I mean, look at this kaiju versus giant robot fight. And you're like, okay, you got me. And in this, it's like, the whole movie, we were riffing on this movie. Because that's what we always, like, whenever a movie is just not particularly great, we always fall back on that.
Yeah.
And you could always tell the quality of a movie by how much we're riffing on it while watching it.
Yeah, because if we're fully engrossed in the movie, we're not making jokes about it.
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice, but overall, we'll just let it go and everything. But I mean, every few minutes I was leaning over and making a joke to you.
Yeah. I mean, we're just constantly talking about how they had every Osprey in the world in this movie.
Oh, God, so many Ospreys in this movie. This movie might as well have just been an advertisement for the Osprey.
Yeah, so... And this movie had a lot of problems with the story, and, like, one character does a thing. I'll get more into the spoiler things. But one character makes a decision, and I was just sitting there going, I have zero sympathy for this character now. Everything that happens to this character for the rest of the movie, I'm just like, well, you deserve it.
So the funny thing is, a lot of the stuff that we're like kind of going like groaning at, rolling our eyes, is stuff that they actually did within Marvel movies. but they did it better.
Yeah.
The stuff we're like kind of making fun of, we're like, oh yeah. I think like on later thought, I'm like, oh, they did that in a Marvel movie, and I didn't mind it there, but that movie was a better movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just, but I mean,
I'm also grossly offended by their unwillingness to show show the city of Las Vegas as being anything but the Strip.
Yeah.
They did it again. They did it in the first one.
Well, they had to keep continuity with the first one.
Oh, jeez.
So, other than, like, the poor action direction, like, the visual effects still look really great. I'll give it that. There was no point where I'm like, oh, that just stands out as bad CGI. Yeah. I mean, intellectually, you know it's CGI. It couldn't be anything else. But it doesn't stand out at you.
To me...
Like, it doesn't jump out at you as like, oh, yeah, that's CGI. And part of that might have been they were hiding it behind a storm every time a kaiju fought.
I'm sure that was part of it. But to me, what I had more of an issue with in regards to that sort of vein was the kaiju noises. Like, Mothra was fine, but like the roars that Rodan or that Ghidorah was giving off, I'm just like, I don't know what I expected Ghidorah to sound like, but that wasn't it.
Couldn't even tell you what he sounded like.
Exactly. And
they had the Godzilla roar.
Well,
that's
yes and no. Like they had roars that sounded like Godzilla's roar, but I kept waiting for like the one shot in the movie where Godzilla lets out like the full roar and it has that nice taper off at the end.
And that screech to it.
Yeah, and we never got that in this movie.
Yeah, I guess.
And the same thing with Rodan, where I was like, I don't know what I expected Rodan to sound like, but that wasn't it. Mothra was fine. I don't know. It's probably because I don't really have any expectations for what a moth should sound like.
Yeah, that's true. Mothra's actually kind of cool looking, and her wingspan was like big. Huge, like crazy big wingspan on Mothra. And they had like a little like remix of the Mothra song in there somewhere. Yep. Just instrumental, not the words, which are instantly just Mothra.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the movie. I'm not gonna say the movie was kind of okay. It was enjoyable for what it was. But I'm a little disappointed because I was actually expecting more from the movie.
Yeah, well, because they made a lot of missteps with the last Godzilla movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of which is just Godzilla. There's no subtitle or anything, so not to be confused, obviously, with the original Japanese.
Even the more recent
Matthew Broderick.
Well, no, there's been more recent Japanese-made Godzilla movies.
Well, those ones had subtitles, though. I thought of some.
I don't know.
Like there was Shin Godzilla, and there was Godzilla 2000.
Well, that came out in the year 2000. That was older.
Yeah.
But there's been like one or two more recent like movies, at least one, maybe two movies made by the Japanese between the last American Godzilla and the most recent one.
But anyway, so they had some missteps with the last one, the last American one, the one that this is a sequel to, of people basically going like, look, your story is...
The one directed by Gareth Edwards.
Yeah. They're like, look, your story is not great. You don't have enough kaiju fighting scenes. You don't show Godzilla enough.
Although, funny thing, that movie actually set the record for the amount of Godzilla on screen.
Right.
So it just didn't feel like enough Godzilla, but it was more than any other Godzilla movie.
Yeah. And I think... It really comes down to, like, look, if you're going to have a bad story, you need to have more badass kaiju fights.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Like, the story in Pacific Rim's not great, but holy crap, that's how you do a kaiju fight.
Yeah, so the problem is not with the amount of kaiju fights. There's plenty of kaiju fights in this movie. They just weren't really great. They weren't, like, well realized.
Yeah. It wasn't the spectacle we wanted it to be.
Yeah,
there was a few cool shots. I think most of them were in the trailer of like when Ghidorah's 3 heads rise up and he unfurls his wings and you see Godzilla across and they run at each other and it zooms in as they're running. It's like the last scene of the trailer and it hits you with that cool like bass drum beat in the like it's a really cool shot, but there's only a few of them and they're all in the trailer.
Yeah. The Ghidorah up on that mountain, that volcano is going off. That's in there. It's like, yeah, basically all the really cool shots, the coolest shots from the movie are in the trailer. Yeah, it's like really just my issue is just the way the fights weren't that great.
No,
they weren't. They're kind of hard to follow. They weren't as they weren't well choreographed.
Also, there were a couple of
part of it was a lot of them were shot from human perspective, just running away from them. So throughout a lot of the fight, you're just like you see them like kind of moving, like these big massive shapes moving in the background, and then but you're focusing on the people in the foreground running away.
So all you're seeing is like the feet and ankles like stomping into the shot back and forth, and and there's
Godzilla's looking pretty chunky too.
Yeah, Godzilla pops up and you're just like, oh lord, he coming.
Godzilla's kind of heavy.
Godzilla's chunky. I love it. But so the other problem I had with the movie is like, look, I can suspend some disbelief when I'm going to see a Godzilla movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I can suspend disbelief on having that many ospreys functioning at one time and not crashing. I can suspend.
You never see an osprey crash unless it is swatted out of the sky by a kaiju.
Yeah, I can suspend disbelief on having a lot of the equipment that Monarch has or whatever.
They have this giant B-1 bomber so big it launches ospreys from it, and it just flies around, and that's like Monarch's mobile command center.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the helicarrier.
Yeah, it acts very much like the helicarrier. But what I can't suspend my disbelief on is the fundamentals of how a nuclear device works, a nuclear warhead works. And
are you getting a little into spoiler territory?
Well, I mean, it's Godzilla. There's nukes involved in Godzilla.
Right.
Always.
So don't get into the specifics of.
No, but I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. But I will say that, like, when you have a movie like this or a superhero movie or something, you have a set of rules that you're like, look, this is not a normal world. It has giant monsters in it, or superheroes, or aliens, or whatever. And you still operate with the rules that are established in real life, just with these additional rules for your setting on top of that. And this movie just does...
Well, here's the problem. So they established that the kaiju are radioactive. Is it just Godzilla that's radioactive, or all of them?
Godzilla was woken up by nuclear testing.
Right, so Godzilla is radioactive, and we know this, and they track him by his radiation signature, right?
Yeah.
They're only ever concerned with the radiation when it suits them for the story. Like, we can't get any closer because of the radiation, but like the scene just before that, they're up physically touching Godzilla, and nobody's concerned or whatever. But then now they're like, well, we can't get that close because the radiation. It's like the radiation only like, concerns them on occasion.
Godzilla shooting atomic breath like over them.
They're only ever concerned with radiation on occasion, and sometimes they're really concerned with it. Like, whoa, we can't get within a mile of that because we're all going to die of radiation poisoning. And then the next shot, they're like well within feet of the source of the radiation, and they're like, well, it's okay now, I guess, but like, stick to the rules, guys.
Yeah. So that was another, and I mean, that's just like a, I guess, continuity issue is where that would fall under, if I were to like categorize
I
that
guess that's
type of
what
a complaint.
You categorize it as.
Also, the other complaint I have about this movie is that the little girl, well, she's not little, she's like 15, I think, Millie Bobby Brown.
Apparently her first movie role, I think.
Yeah, she's in Stranger Things. right? And she seems to be the only one taking any scene seriously. Like, she has the best performance in this movie
she
somehow.
does. She does have the best performance in this movie, and everyone, I think, I don't know, maybe Ken Watanabe is the next. A lot of people just felt like they were kind of phoning it in.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny, like, Kyle Chandler. Oh, Charles Dance did a pretty good job, too.
Yeah.
But, like, Kyle Chandler, he like, whispers the whole... And it's funny, like, he's, like, trying to, like, I don't know, be, like it's a serious scene, so he feels like he needs to whisper to really emphasize the seriousness of the scene, but then, like, Ken Watanabe's talking in, like, a much louder level voice in the same scene, so he's, like, whispering, and the Ken Watanabe's, like, talking, like, at the level I'm talking at now, and it's, like, this weird disconnect between the two of them, like... But it's just the way... And it's not that, like, Ken Watanabe doesn't... There's no gravitas in his performance or anything, it's just... His idea of... You know, being serious in a scene doesn't involve whispering.
Yeah, I will say this though, Kyle Chandler, and here's how I think it's an issue of the actors not taking it seriously. I know Kyle Chandler can act because he was awesome in Catch-22 as Colonel Cathcart. You know, and I even think Ken Watanabe was kind of phoning it in a bit.
Well, you were saying you feel like he was laying on his accent really thick.
Yeah, well, it's like...
I've only seen him in a few English-speaking roles, and he had a pretty thick accent in those. You think his accent isn't as thick as he's laying it on, though?
I don't know. There was just some scenes where it was just kind of like... Almost like someone making fun of a Japanese accent.
Okay.
Like, there's just a couple scenes in there where it's just like... Really laid on. And I don't know if that was just, you know, that day on set he was tired or something. I don't know, but yeah, it didn't feel like his actual normal accent. A lot of the
Chinese
time.
actress, she had a, I think she spoke English better anyway.
This is Ziyi Zhang.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Probably.
Ziyi Zhang?
I've seen her in other movies.
Let's see. But yeah, so I mean, she was in The Voice in TMNT. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of about all I would have to say about this movie without getting into spoilers. Is like the thing is like I've been seeing a lot of this back and forth online of critics giving the movie bad reviews and then people defending it saying, but it's a Godzilla movie. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, but it didn't even do that well. So
yeah, and just because it's Godzilla doesn't mean the story has to be
this
bad or something. And I wasn't expecting much from the story, actually. Just go back and watch any Godzilla movie. There's 33 of them to pick from. And usually the story is, even in the old ones, better than this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt like really slapped together in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so...
yeah, I mean, the visual effects were really good, but the fights were hard to follow.
Yeah, they did a really good job at removing Las Vegas outside of the Strip.
Yeah.
Where do all the people who work in those casinos live? If that's Las Vegas.
Well, they're driving from LA every day, don't you know?
Or do they live in the hotels?
Yeah, that's why they need such big ones.
Yeah. Anyway, so spoiler warning?
Yeah, spoiler warning.
Alright. So there's a device in this movie. It's a device to move the plot. It's a plot device.
Right.
Of the oxygen.
Oh, the oxygen bomb.
Dear God, that was stupid.
Oxygen removal bomb.
Oxygen, yeah. And it removes the oxygen from everything within a kilometer.
Yeah, basically, all the good guys are on the giant stealth bomber plane that Monarch is in, and they're being chased by Ghidorah. And then this admiral just calls her up, like, by the way, we've been working on this bomb that removes all the oxygen in a 2-mile radius. So get out of there. And they're like,
thank goodness we have this experimental, highly dangerous weapon of mass destruction on the U.S. fleet that happens to be in this area.
Yeah.
Thank goodness our carrier strike group has this thing.
So they launch it, and it goes off, and it looks like a nuke, like a green nuke. Like when it goes off, it's just like an atomic blast, but it looks green.
And it kills all the fish. Puts Godzilla to sleep.
In a coma. But Rodan is okay.
Ghidorah.
Yeah. Ghidorah is okay, because Ghidorah is a space alien, which I'm fine with. That doesn't bother me or anything.
I mean, I actually like the idea of, like, oh yeah, there's all these titans on Earth, and Godzilla is the alpha, and Ghidorah showed up and is a false king. I actually like that part of the story. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But for whatever, it doesn't work on him. So he's also got healing factor. Like when Godzilla had ripped one of his heads off and then just like grows back. It's kind of gross looking to watch happen too.
Yeah.
But I mean, Godzilla's in a coma. So they go and like he's lying asleep
in Atlantis.
So they take the submarine and they take it under water and they find Atlantis where Godzilla is resting, and it like I guess the Atlantans
worshipped him
as a god. There's all these like paintings and sculptures where they were like worshiping him as a god, and so their submarine, their plan was to launch a nuclear warhead at Godzilla, and that would revitalize him. Like, I know the radiation is what revitalizes him, so the blast should actually kill him, though, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still fission, and that's still a nuclear fireball and concussion wave.
But anyway, on their trip down there, they bumped into something, and their weapon systems were damaged, so they have to physically take the atomic bomb, the warhead.
They have to physically take Ken Watanabe out of the franchise.
Yeah, Ken Watanabe's like, sayonara, I am out of here. And he puts in this little like personal submersible with the warhead, and he like takes it up to Godzilla, and then he sets the thing, and then he walks up to Godzilla, and Godzilla like cracks his eye open, and he's like, goodbye, old friend, but it's in Japanese, so it's subtitled. And then the nuke goes off, and that like wakes Godzilla up, and he's cool. And super powered, and they're like, wow, Godzilla's looking even beefier than normal. They actually like make that comment.
Yeah.
So then he goes and fights Ghidorah and wins the day, and then all the other Titans, there's like 13 or 17 of them or something like that, and they'll like bow down to him. And that's where I recognize that guy from.
Bradley Whitford?
Yeah, from West Wing.
Yeah. So, can we talk about his performance for a second?
It was
not
probably
good.
like the worst of them.
It was not good. Like I'm convinced he was actually drunk when filming this.
He just felt like it. It was one of those characters who's like there's
hyper cynical.
Well, yeah, there's that what's the word I'm looking for? That archetype who's the super intelligent asshole who's just like doesn't take anything seriously, but he's like really like into basically that one guy from Pacific Rim.
Oh yeah,
he's kind of like that guy,
but that guy was an entertaining character.
Yeah. I don't know, it was.
So do you think Godzilla movies going forward are going to perpetually be hindered by the fact that they're inevitably going to be compared to Pacific Rim?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, this movie, I'm questioning, who are we supposed to root for in the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong?
I'm rooting for Godzilla. I've always liked Godzilla more than Kong.
Okay. Kong Skull Island was a better movie than this movie.
Yeah, it was. It had John C. Reilly in it, so
Yeah. So, yeah, but there was all that, like, Godzilla's nuke. Oh, then when he goes and fights Ghidorah, they're like, oh no, his radiation is building, it's gonna blow, and then like this Godzilla keeps releasing this like wave of radiation off of him or something, and it.
Oh yeah, that was the thing I was complaining about with the nuclear explosion. They're like, oh, he's gonna explode. It's gonna be like, it's gonna be this nuclear blast or whatever. And I'm like,
let's back up a few feet.
Well, yeah, it is that, but I'm like, I mean, he still needs to compress uranium or uranium-238.
So it wasn't really an explosion
plutonium.
so much as it was just like a release of radiation.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of gamma rays came off him.
Which, I mean, as long as you weren't looking at Godzilla and like had a wall between you and him, you'd be fine. Gamma rays don't really penetrate. It's the alpha rays you gotta watch
whatever. I'm not a nuclear scientist. I don't know about rays. Omega rays.
It's alpha, beta, and gamma.
Yeah, but we're getting like into Godzilla territory here.
Yeah, so there might be omega.
There might be omega rays.
That's true, and maybe that's how they fuel the oxygen removal device.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
That could be it.
That was so stupid.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the.
I'm like actually angry about that.
Let's talk about the motivation behind the character that we lost all sympathy for.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, Dr. Emma Russell, the mother to Millie Bobby Brown's character.
And the ex-wife to Kyle Chandler's character.
Yeah.
So she's working for Monarch, and she's developed a device to not so much communicate with them, but it like analyzes them and like sends out signals to, affect them, like calm them down or make them angry or draw them closer, push them away, however you set this device. And she's testing it out on Mothra. And it works. And then like what appear to be the bad guys show up, kill all these Monarch people, and take her and her daughter hostage. Well, it turns out they're not really hostages because she's working with the guy because their plan is they believe that the Titans are like Earth's antibodies and humanity is a virus, and so the Titans will just come up and wipe a bunch of humanity away, possibly all of them, we're not sure, and the Earth will be better off. And then like when she realizes it, her daughter's like, wait a minute, hold on, your plan to save the world is to kill almost everyone on the world? That's not really great.
That's like some Sith Lord shit right there.
Right. And that's basically how everyone outside of this group of people who are these soldiers who are doing this with her feel. They're like, wait a minute, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Maybe there's another way other than just killing everyone. So, let's think about this.
Yeah, it's yeah, I remember the guy next to me was just like, what?
Yeah. And so like nobody in the movie has any sympathy for her. Nobody outside of the movie has any sympathy for her. The only time she realizes maybe this is a bad thing is when suddenly her daughter's life is threatened and she's like, oh, well, maybe this was a bad thing.
Yeah. We're supposed to somehow believe that Kyle Chandler's character and his daughter are, like, care enough to go find her or, like, go after her. It's just like,
well, I could see your daughter. I mean,
like, and I wanted to see, like, they were showing the destruction on TV of like all the stuff that Ghidorah's doing, and like the real hiccup in their plan was that it was Ghidorah that became the alpha instead of Godzilla. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, so there's this thing. It's kind of like the whole dragon thing and How to Train Your Dragon, where the alpha like mind controls all the other monsters.
Yeah,
like they do his bidding, and so they were expecting Godzilla to be the alpha, and the Godzilla isn't so much benevolent, but just doesn't care.
He's chaotic neutral.
Right, whereas Ghidorah is a force of destruction, and so he was making all of the monsters other than Godzilla, because he couldn't control Godzilla or Mothra.
Because Mothra is just pure.
Yeah, Mothra's just pure good. And then Ghidorah was just forcing the other monsters to just destroy everything on the planet. And I'm like, well, wasn't that kind of your plan to begin with?
Yeah, so, like, I was sitting there like, what's her problem?
Her plan was to wipe everyone out, right?
Yeah.
She wanted to be slower about it, or what?
Suddenly she's horrified over this thing with Ghidorah. I just wanted her daughter to turn around and go, "This is your fault," and walk away.
Yeah. Well, we almost got... Her daughter did call her a monster at one point.
Oh, yeah.
That was satisfying.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I thought this was your plan. Even, Tywin Lannister, what's his name?
Charles Dance?
Yeah, even he was like, wasn't this the plan? Like, when she's suddenly faced with watching billions of people die...
Yeah.
Suddenly it's like, oh, wait, this is a bad thing. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
I thought your plan was to wipe out a big, if not all the population, but a big chunk of it, so that, like, humanity isn't... There's not enough of humanity to ruin the Earth anymore.
Yeah. And
suddenly, like, you're faced with that. Oh, because it was on CNN suddenly. We're watching it all happen live, and, like, that that upset her. And, like...
Yeah.
Your plan was to unleash giant monsters on the world, and when you did that, it wasn't right.
I thought it would have been cooler if she had been kidnapped the whole time. She hadn't gone insane, and it was just that Charles Dance was like, yeah, we're terrorists, and we're going to use this device to control the monsters to, fuck shit up.
Hold the world hostage or whatever, and
yeah.
she's only going along for the sake of, like, because they got her daughter hostage or whatever.
Right, and then oh no, they lose control because Ghidorah's the one that they woke up, and like,
it turns out they can't control Ghidorah because he's an alien. They can't control him.
Yeah,
right?
See, just like that, we just fixed Godzilla. Well, okay,
we fixed its script,
part of it anyway,
its plot anyway. It needs some more fixing, but other than that, so yeah, there's that. So yeah, I mean, they're making another one of these. We'll see how that goes.
Godzilla versus Kong versus the biggest damn Kong to ever grace the silver screen.
Yep,
he is so much bigger than he has ever been in any other movie. Even in the Jack Black one.
Well, they gotta make him bigger so that he's big enough to fight Godzilla, which this is the biggest Godzilla has ever been. All these monsters are bigger than they've ever been before. They've beefed him up.
Beefcake! Yep. So, honestly...
I mean, Godzilla's had some scale creep. If you look at, like, the very original movie to, like, the more recent ones, he's had scale creep throughout.
Yeah, so...
I think it's all those nukes we keep dropping on him.
I'm not sure I can actually recommend this movie to people.
If you're looking for something, just some action movie, I mean, there's...
Then go see John Wick 3.
Well, there's that, but something you can take your kids to. There's some set pieces that are fine. They could be better.
There's some set pieces that are fine.
Well, I mean, like, there's these, like, you see in the trailer, and you see, like, what look like they're going to be really cool set pieces. Then when you actually see them, you're like, well, they're not as good as they could be.
Yeah. I will say, though, that I think they should keep giving Millie Bobby Brown roles in movies.
Yeah, she was really good.
So, but yeah, that's kind of all I really have to say about this movie now. So, we're gonna have a delay on seeing Rocket Man. Probably be out in next week sometime. But next week we also have Dark Phoenix, which looks rough. I'm trying to be optimistic about it.
I was optimistic about Godzilla. I was expecting a much better movie. I think maybe if my hopes weren't as high as they were, I'd feel better about it, because I like set a bar in my mind a lot higher than we got.
Yeah. Well, and I thought I would like it more than I did too, because I actually liked that last Godzilla movie a lot more than most people did anyway.
Yeah.
But then, so the week after next, we've got Men in Black International, Shaft, and The Dead Don't Die.
I think I'm actually most excited for either Shaft or The Dead Don't Die.
Yeah.
They both look pretty good.
Yeah, one of those movies we'll probably have to have a delay on. And we probably don't want to delay The Dead Don't Die, because I don't see that being in theaters for very long.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small release. Just looks like Bill Murray and Adam Driver went, this movie looks fun.
Yeah. Well, I think it's zombies.
Yep.
You know, The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Ghouls.
Ghouls? I don't know why the way he says it's so funny.
Adam Driver says ghouls like ghouls.
Then we have
He's got a real throaty voice, that's why.
Yeah. Then we have Toy Story 4. This comes out on the same week as Child's Play, which I don't give a shit about Child's Play.
But you know, it's funny that those two come out of the same week.
I'm sure that was planned by the people who did the Child's Play, the producers of Child's Play. Because have you seen the posters?
Yeah.
So, they're totally poking fun at Toy Story.
Yeah.
And then Toy Story 4 is another movie that I didn't ask for. I just found out Keanu Reeves is going to be in it, or is in it, and so I'm a little more interested now. But it's not a movie I asked for. And then we end the month with Yesterday, which does not have a great Metascore.
That's too bad. Because it looks interesting. I like the concept. It looks interesting.
Then we kick off July. First thing, Spider-Man, Far From Home. We got our tickets. We're seeing it Tuesday night. And then Stuber after that. And might be able to get in to see that early, actually. Maybe. Not making promises on that. And then Lion King in July, and we end July with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Ellipses in Hollywood.
Yep, gotta have that ellipses in there. Yeah, and then August sees Hobbs and Shaw, which looks really ridiculous, but it looks like it knows what it is. Yeah. And then Artemis Fowl, which I'll probably go see, but I never read the books as a kid, so...
Yeah, I'm not even sure I'd even heard of them before I saw that poster for it.
Yeah. But then that's kind of the end of the summer movie. I combined those two words.
Yeah.
Summer movie blockbuster season.
There's a term for that. I forget what it is.
Can't believe that they made another Has Fallen movie.
Well, see, when he's gone and saved the president twice already, at great risk to himself, you'd think he'd be above reproach, but no, they're still able to somehow frame him for the murder of the president or something.
Yep. Yeah. So that's what we got through the end of summer. Sometime in September is Rambo. But yeah, that's what we got coming up.
Portmanteau, that's the word I'm looking for.
What?
When you combine those two, summer and movie.
Oh, where it's like a combination word, but it's not actually a word.
Yeah, it's called a portmanteau.
Okay. The more you know.
Yeah. I couldn't think of the word. I'm like, I know the word, I just couldn't think of the word.
Well, you knew more than I did. I didn't even know there was a word for that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so, yep, that's what we got coming up. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check back for that. Any final thoughts, Nolan? The world deserves a better Godzilla movie. Let Guillermo del Toro do a Godzilla movie.
You know what? Like I said, we got 33 Godzilla movies to pick from. There's probably a better one out there.
Yeah, but we don't have one that's just like this is a good movie. We have a lot of ones that like this is enjoyable in that campy Japanese kaiju movie sort of way.
Yeah.
Also, after Godzilla versus Kong, which they can't have a winner, right? They have to just beat each other up and go their separate ways. That's how that has to end, right?
Yeah.
Calling it now. After that, I want Gamera. I want a Gamera movie set in this new...
They showed like some monster
Titan.
in this movie. They showed some monster like awakening. You didn't get a good look at it, but we thought it kind of looked Gamera-ish.
Yeah, it looked like it... So it looked like it could have been a giant turtle. It was the one outside Munich.
Yeah, if you saw Detective Pikachu...
Yeah.
Kind of reminiscent of that scene. That particular
the giant,
scene.
I don't even remember the name of that Pokemon.
Yeah. Kind of reminiscent of that.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, I want a Gamera because I always liked Gamera because it's like someone looked at Godzilla and went,
put a backpack on it.
It's not ridiculous enough.
Hey, you know those Ninja Turtle backpacks that look like a shell they used to sell in the 80s? It was just a plastic shell with straps on it. Slap one of those on Godzilla.
Yeah, it's just like...
Give us some tusks.
Because Godzilla's not ridiculous enough. What if we made him decidedly a good guy, put a cheesy turtle backpack on him, and he loves children?
Yep, and he flies, like he pulls his limbs inside his shell, and and then rockets come out, and he flies.
It's not even that I'm a huge Gamera fan. It's that it's such a ridiculous concept for a giant monster. I want to see it reimagined in a modern setting and see what they could possibly do with it.
Yeah, they should just do a whole series of Godzilla versus movies from here on out, like they used to do. Just like next one, Godzilla versus.
You got Chonky Godzilla versus Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
Chonky Godzilla versus. Oh, when are we gonna get Mecha Godzilla?
Oh heck yes! I was hoping that after credit scene there'd be an after credit scene where they showed Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, there's got to be like, Monarch has created something to fight back against the Titans because Godzilla's, getting
unreliable.
Or he's getting overworked or whatever, and they
overweight,
and they bring on Mecha Godzilla, and that pisses off Chonky Godzilla, and then they fight. That's how that has to go. Let that one be the Guillermo del Toro one.
Heck yeah.
So anyway, that's I think all we got for our movie review today. So check out our other reviews. Check out our upcoming reviews. Getting close to 100, right?
We are at like 96, I think. This will be 96.
Oh, man. We got it.
Because you were adamant that our 100th not be
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
You were just so unreasonably hateful on that movie.
I'm not hateful on it. It's just like no one asked for it. The charm is gone from that series.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
So it's like stop. Let Pixar. They've had a couple
Ewan
needs
a new shot in the arm with. They got to bring Carl Weathers' character from that one short back, Combat Carl. Needs a real shot in the arm.
Yeah, I mean
what I want to see, since they got the Star Wars license, is just like a whole Toy Story movie, but it's all like the Black Series action figures. It's all the characters.
That would be funny. I mean, Pixar said
and then it turns into Robot Chicken.
Yep, Pixar's had a few missteps when they've done new IPs, but let's get some new stuff out there. They've been doing every other.
Mm-hmm.
It's been alternating between a new IP, sequel to an existing IP, back and forth with Pixar. And I think other than The Good Dinosaur, that was Pixar, right?
Yeah.
I think other than that, they haven't had just a straight up bad new IP Pixar movie in a while.
What was the last new one they did?
Was it? Wasn't it Inside Out?
Was that? Yeah, it feels like it was a long time ago.
That was a good movie.
Anyway, let's end this up.
Let's wrap this up. So, until next time, hail to the king, baby.
The king is dead. Long live the king.
Toodles.
Bye.